This broadcast will start in 30 seconds. This broadcast will start in 15 seconds. This broadcast will start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Voice of Stockton. For more information on The Voice of Stockton, go to thevoiceofstockton.org.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, The Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Welcome to Walk the Talk. This is Jim T. Chong over at KXVS, The Voice of Stockton. And we are getting ready here for the holidays, just off the Miracle Mile in Stockton, California. And I want to just highlight some of the things that we can consider focusing on. There's a lot of things going on nationally. And what I like to say is the things that happen here in Stockton, California have really national and in some case even international implications. We'll cover why that's so. And as we continue on with the show today, we're going to be talking about the theme of wealth and health. And we once again have with us from the Great White North, Bob Larrett. Bob, how are you today?
I am well, Jim. How are you?
Great. So how are you doing in terms of Canada? What's going on in Canada right now?
Right now, we seem to be in a bit of a kerfuffle with the government of China. The United States has requested that we arrest and deport to the United States to face charges the chief of finance of Huawei Technology. And we have arrested her. She's under house arrest. And the government of China seems to be quite upset at Canada. And so in terms of trade and the potential trade war between the United States and China, we kind of find ourselves in the middle of what potentially could be some serious issues. So stay tuned to that if you're interested in following Canada.
Well, you know, it's interesting. There's a lot going on here, as you know, in the U.S. of A. as well. And we're investigating and do a lot of internal cleanup in terms of the government, the core leadership. Of course, there's a lot of discussion about the directions Trump is going with the wall. There's something going on with Flynn. There's a lot of different, let's just say opinions about things that are happening right here. And so definitely for anyone who wants to keep their mind occupied, there is a lot of directions that we can go and speculate. And I'll tell you, I want to just keep it simple on this show. Just talk about the things that we do have control of. And it is good. I want to emphasize it is good to not be ignorant of the things that are happening around us, but we don't have to let it consume us. And I believe we need to make our decisions on what we choose to focus on. And I wanted to highlight something here. There is a book that was shown to me, and it is called Why We Sleep. It was given by a good friend of mine, Tony, and it's named a best book of 2017 by London Evening Standard, Financial Times, Business Insider, and Greater Good Magazine, The Stranger, and NPR. And basically, it talks about just what the importance of sleep is. Why We Sleep is a groundbreaking exploration of sleep, explaining how we can harness its transformational power to change our lives for the better. And sleep has long been one of the most important but least understood aspects of our lives, wellness, and longevity, until an explosive of scientific discoveries in the last 2 decades began to shed light on the subject. And so now we have to really look at not just every waking minute of every waking hour, but also just how we spend our time, and hopefully during that 24-hour period of time, especially those of us that are engaged in doing big things. And you know, it could be growing a business, it could be helping a lot of people, saving the planet, but we have this thing called sleep that we need to consider why we sleep. And so we'll be having some more discussion on that in future programs. But the reason why I bring that up is something that I think we take for granted, and sometimes we don't really take care of ourselves the way we need to. And so sleep is such an important aspect of life and livelihood. And yet, as we go on through time, it's very interesting. We find ourselves actually spending less time, even though we are working so much more efficiently. Any comments on that? Has anything I said resonated with you, Bob? And just over in the Great White North, how do you see sleep and things? I know things are a little bit cooler out there.
Well, we sleep better where it's fresh air. Sleep is important.
All right, that's a good comment there. I caught it. Yeah. Go ahead.
A lot of people don't get as much sleep as they should. There's many different reasons for that: stress at work, stress at home, family life, children. There's just so many different things that lead to that. But if you find yourself developing illness that seems to be new and different in your life, in addition to what you eat, what you breathe, what you drink, and what you exercise, don't forget the aspect of improving sleep in your life as a way of staying healthy.
That is so very important. We're going to be talking about something that is very important, and it actually contributes to your sleep or lack of sleep. And this is something that we need to really focus on. It's two key words, actually. One is wealth and one is health. I think we can all agree that most problems in marriages and relationships involve finances to one degree or another. And when there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, if finances are not in order, unfortunately, that's why a lot of people can't sleep. Because they are wrestling with something in their minds. They are thinking about what to do. They are trying to plan things. And if you're not properly prepared, it can be a very stressful time. I know personally that just dealing with my dad's situation, to not really have the adequate preparation can really affect not just yourself, but those you love. And so I am just going to share some thoughts here from personal life experience and things that we can focus on to help us be able to sleep better at night. And as we talk about the wealth section, I want you to consider, where are you at, especially this time of year. It's a great time of reflection, thinking of going into the new year. And then we'll be following that up by talking about health. And we're going to be discussing a very important issue, and that is diabetes. And I will tell you, I've been talking to more people about their health and just different situations that arise, that it has prompted me to focus on these two areas here. And we're just going to lay it like it is in terms of medicine versus supplements, and just make some things, some statements that are, of course, our opinions, but I would say that sometimes some of the facts support just the opinions of what we have. So we're going to get started with just a money aspect of things. And I'll tell you, we have certain people as we move on through life that we focus in on this concept of being financially free. What is financial freedom to you, Bob? What does that mean to you?
Basically, financial freedom means to me the ability to do what's important in your life. And things that are important, obviously, are having a place to live, a safe place to live, having a support for your family, being able to put food on the table, maybe enjoying a vacation if that's the type of thing that you do, the ability to contribute to charities and other activities that matter to you personally or to your family. So if you've got the ability to cover that, then you've got what I would consider to be a financially secure life, as long as the finance that you currently have is secure. You can go on and talk about the next steps of wealth, the ability to buy fancy cars, yachts, mansions, and even private jets. These days, I guess even private space travel vehicles pretty soon. But I mean, that's kind of far-fetched. And I think the important thing, and I know where you're heading with this, but the important thing with finance, the second word that's important is security. And one of the difficulties that we all face these days is that what used to be secure 100 years ago in terms of joining an organization and growing with that organization and resigning with that organization at retirement and coming home and having a nice pension, those days are gone. And it's not unusual these days to expect to have a career with half a dozen or a dozen, not just different employers, but potentially quite different activities of work. And so, Jim, I know you're going to want to talk about improving the aspect of security in financial security.
You know, it is so very important in terms of just the word security. I'm going to hone in on that. Of course, the base word is secure, being secure. Who does not want to have a secure financial future? And sometimes these words can be overplayed. We can look at money and we could think, well, you know, we could always make a lot more money. And there is a trap in that I want to talk about. But I want to pull up one key word in terms of just having security. Even in our homeland here, and even in Canada, when we are trying to have security, it does take planning. We're going to talk a little bit more about health. To be able to have security in your well-being and health, to maximize it, it all includes this one key word. It begins with a P. It's not profit. It's actually planning. And planning is so very important to take the actions necessary to be able to foresee things before they happen. And I like to say with money, in our money program on Money 105.5, we had always emphasized that when you have a lot of money, you know how many choices you have, Bob?
More than you do when you don't have money.
That's right. When you have a lot of money, you have a lot of choices. A little bit of money, you have a little bit of choice. And no money, you know what happens, Robert?
Yeah, well, you just got to strive to get by, and you have essentially no choices.
Right. Pretty much you think about that. When you have no money, the choices are chosen for you. Where you can live, what you can do, what you're able to get for people that you love during Christmas time. When you don't have the money, it is something that limits you. And it's not that you have no choice. It's that choices are chosen for you. And you think about that. You know, if you don't have any gas, you know, in your car, and your friends want to go out, and you have no money, and you can't pay for a theater ticket or for dinner, what really dictates your ability to get to that place, and what really dictates what you will eat, if you'll eat at all, in the restaurant, is maybe somebody being gracious. Hey, I'll go ahead and drive, right? That gives you the ability to go. And then when you sit at a table, you're wondering, oh my gosh, I don't want to look bad. You know, I don't have money. Hopefully this person will treat me. But let's say he doesn't extend that opportunity to treat you. You're sitting at that table. And I've been there where I left my wallet at home and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I hope he offers to treat me. But the whole thing is that you're really subject to the grace of somebody else. And so when they extend that offer, I will tell you it's great. And then you're thinking, well, I really wanted that steak, but now I have to get the salad because I don't want to be too extensive in terms of the spending. You know, I want him to treat me again, right? Because next week I may not have the money too. And so I want to make it a pleasant experience for the person. But I will tell you, I joke about this a little bit, but it is so true. When you don't have the money, you even limit your thoughts, especially if somebody is taking care of it. And I want you to think about this. if you don't have the money you need, somebody is still paying the bill. If it's not you, it's somebody else. You know, we're just talking about a dinner. But at the same time, let's say if you have health care needs and you haven't planned properly and you get severely sick, you may not have the money, but somebody is going to have to sacrifice to be able to help you. Usually it's your children, those that are immediate family first. And this is why it's so very important to anticipate certain things dealing with your health, with your financial well-being. You know, we can only work so many years. And if anything derails our ability to work, that really limits what we're able to do because it cuts off that flow of money. And so the options that are remaining are based on what people are gracious in terms of extending it. It could be the government that's willing to help, a friend that's willing to help. And I'll tell you, keep this in mind, that when you don't have the money, you limit your ability to do things. And I know many of us here, especially, you know, I'm right in Stockton, California, very cause-based, a lot of organizations here, you limit your ability to continue what you are doing to help a specific cause. This is why it's so very important to get a plan in place. And I will tell you, you know, working with my dad's situation, going through life experience myself over the last 3 years, I just got a text message from my sister saying, hey, you know, here's an article, make sure you read it. It's actually an email. And make sure you read it because, you know, dad's going into the next stage. And so this is what our life may be like in the next stage of life. Now, I read through that a little bit. I work with seniors and help them on different strategies, advanced strategies as well. But I'll tell you, it's really unfortunate that, you know, money limits us because really there isn't enough to be able to put him exactly where we want him to be. Now, fortunately, he's safe. He's taken care of. We're able to work through certain things by the grace of some people in terms of, you know, extending a reasonable rate on where he's staying in a memory care location, which is actually called Daybreak. That's up over in Fair Oaks. So shout out to them. But with that, you know, there's still a lot of the struggle and the fight. And my dad, you know, he's at that situation where he's not thinking so much about that. He's just living day to day and enjoying life. And, you know, and it's really fortunate if he remembers certain things that are happening every day and keeps those memories in. And at the same time, he does not know the struggles that we have as the children trying to help. And we gladly take on that responsibility. But that's not to say it's an easy task. But it's all about planning that can really prevent this. I know my father, he actually had I remember this clear as day. He had a $300,000 policy that he had canceled just months before my mom passed away. And then shortly thereafter, his memory started going. And, you know, the people that are around you, they're going to want to help. But I can guarantee you $300,000 income tax free would definitely have been a great contribution to what we could do with really helping him. So with that, I want us to consider just what everything you are doing is leading towards and your ability to be able to sustain yourself without really inconveniencing or in some ways really affecting other people. Now, I want us to keep in mind that when we continue on in life, it's funny. I actually have somebody here that's calling in right now that is all about life, and that's Mary Nicholson of Healings in Motion. And so I know I'll get back with her later. But her daughter just had a baby, so congratulations to Rain and also Mary for that as well. Mary's another grandmother. But see, life just happens. Life happens with or without our intervention, and life will keep going on. But I just want to be able to have us all think about what does our financial future look like. And we do have the ability to control, design, create what we want to happen. But everything, I can guarantee you, everything that we do is based on our passion, our desire, of course, but also our ability to do what we want to do. And that takes that M word, which is money. And so I encourage you, think about the holidays. Hopefully you're able to get the gifts you want to buy for everyone. And hopefully you're able to consider, what's my plan going to be for 2019? Not just for money, but just for our own purpose in life. Are we able to fulfill our purpose? Money drives everything. I will tell you that there are some key components to get in place. Sometimes people don't want to think about it, but insurance is so very critical. It costed us about $300,000 by not maintaining that policy. Now, my dad's memory was going. We did not really know that he had that policy, but that does make a difference. To be able to pay pennies on the dollar, literally, to be able to secure the financial future of your well-being, but also those that you love. Very priceless. To be able to have the money in those days where you are living your golden years, to be able to have that money to do what you want to do, also takes planning. And so I encourage you, if you have any questions, please contact myself. You can reach me at 916-800-4705. That's 916-800-4705. And I guarantee you, we will shed the light and also unravel the mysteries that is going on in terms of just finance, the money arena. Learn how money works. Learn to put the pieces of the puzzle together, where the pieces go before something happens. And I'm saying this with a lot more conviction and fervor because I'm learning firsthand what it's like to be able to not have certain things in place in helping my dad. And again, I love him to death, but I share this openly because I know that there's been a lot of struggle and turmoil for those that you love if you don't have the right things in place. So I wanted to ask you, Bob, I know you're up there in the senior years here, and I want to mention this too. We don't know what life throws our way, and Bob, I just wanted to highlight the fact I know somebody you love very dearly. Your daughter went on to be at the next stage of life, and I just wanted to extend my heartfelt sympathy for that, but also the fact that she had such a loving father. I know her heart must have shined. And the things I talk about in finances, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Let's just be really honest. You're a little advanced, further along in life than I am in many ways, including the years as well. And so I know you see things also from a deeper, I would say, possibly even a more mature perspective. So your thoughts here, Bob.
Jim, I guess the most important thought I have is, of course, as I said, financial security. If we're going to concentrate on the financial side, but at the same time, I just want to make sure that people stress equally the health side of security, because you can spend your life earning all the money until you retire, and then spend your retirement using all that money to try to stay alive. And, that both sides of that equation are not where you want to be. You want to be able to enjoy life while you're young with a growing family and be able to do things that give you reason to get up in the morning. But when those days come when you do retire, you still want to be able to get up in the morning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the thing. Well, for me, in my experience, I guess going back to when I began work, there was the thought that I would join a company and stay with them for the rest of my working career. I worked for approximately 40 years, and the longest I stayed with any one employer was 16. So even in my time, the expectation of moving on and changing employment for different reasons is something that one has to keep in mind. keep yourself well educated, keep yourself prepared for the next step, keep doing those things that you feel will represent you well on a resume, not just courses that you take, not just accomplishments at work, but also things on the personal side. What are you involved with in life that would differentiate you potentially from another candidate applying for the same job? Did you help run a United Way campaign? Have you volunteered with the Salvation Army? Are you a leader at your church? Those types of things certainly help to add credibility to who you are as a person. And when employers are looking for people to hire, they really do want something more than a fresh out of college MBA. So that's part of it. The other part of it that I think is equally important is the recognition that you may at any time be called upon to revert to what I call your plan B. This is something that you do independently of the workplace that, when it's necessary, can lead to an additional source of income, whether it's simultaneous with your main job or whether it's in preparation for something when your main job is behind you. I used to work with a fella who tied flies. Now, if you're familiar with fishing, you know that fly tying is quite a skill. He developed different techniques and different capabilities and began to put his flies on cards that could be retailed. He would go to different trade shows and sports shows and things like that. And the next thing you know, he had his product selling in stores, and all of a sudden he got to a point where he could early retire and do what he really enjoyed doing, and that was tying flies, going fishing, doing things that many of us might dream about. Wow, wouldn't it be nice to take next week off and go fishing? I hear that they're biting right now. Well, he could, and there's many forms of a plan B, whether it's starting a small home business, whether it's working a part-time job where you have some control over it. Maybe it's developing a skill that you can that you can market for yourself. Maybe it's home decorating or home finishing or landscaping or something like that you might fall back on as a second career if and when you need it. And so the importance of having a good income, having a steady income, steady is in quotes because it probably will not last for the rest of your working life. Being able to put a part of your money away in savings and leaving it there so that it can grow, whether it's in investments. And if you're interested in investing money, don't try to do it on your own. Talk to a professional, get some guidance, somebody that understands the risk factors and can balance your portfolio. Develop skills, do the things that I spoke about, and be ready, because chances are you're the rock of your family. And if you're not in a situation where you can bring some of these things together to fall back on in times of need, chances are you're going to be letting somebody down at some point. And boy, I'll tell you, that really hurts when you can't do those things that you really want to do. That's where the stress starts to climb. That's where the sleepless nights come in. And so if you can do things to prepare yourself for those days, that's what you have to do while you're capable.
Wow. I think that is very important. So I want us all to think about, where are we at financially? What is our wealth strategy? And again, you can catch me on Facebook at Jim T. Chong, the walk star, of course, Jim T. Chong on Facebook, or you can reach out to me at 916-800-4705. Now, transitioning into something you had talked about, equally important is your health. And you kind of summarizing what you said, a lot of times earlier in life, we will expend a lot of our health to gain the wealth. And then later, just to find out that if we have not taken care of ourselves, we may be spending that wealth away in an attempt and pursuit of trying to regain our health. And there is an epidemic, certain things that are happening. There's a lot of things that affect our well-being. And I want to bring up this whole issue about diabetes. And diabetes can be a very critical situation. People can lose limbs, lose lives. And if left unwatched or out of control, definitely many people have been affected and devastated because of diabetes. And I know that just hearing some of the stories is pretty incredible. I feel blessed that I've never had to directly interface with diabetes, but I want to ask you in terms of just what we've been talking about. I'm very excited because there's been a lot of advancements in this whole area here. I know that there is a product called metformin that people take in the event that they are diabetic, but there are unfortunately side effects being more genetically engineered. But I want to ask you about this new product and this new technology. It's called Emulin, and it was developed by Dr. Ahrens. Can you give us a little background in terms of this and why it's so significant?
Certainly. The background with respect to a product that has anything to do with diabetes is obviously tied into managing blood sugars and things like that in your body. Fruits and vegetables hundreds and thousands of years ago had much different qualities than they have today. Fruits had something in it called sugar chaperones. These were molecules of things that prevented your body from overloading on sugars. The amount of sugar and carbs, because carbs convert into sugar, the amount of carbs and sugars consumed today per person are many times what they were 100 years ago. And like I'm talking 20 or 30 times as much. In the meantime, our fruits, for example, have been bred to increase their sweetness with no thought as to how to increase the molecules that were necessary for health to balance that sugar. The result that we see today is truly a worldwide epidemic in the growing numbers that have been diagnosed with diabetes. And just let me throw out one more statistic. Even though diabetes around the world is one of the fastest growing and therefore epidemic conditions, roughly a third of those with diabetes have never been diagnosed and don't they have it. They succumb to symptoms such as sleepiness, weakness at times, and they don't feel well. And the reason is because their blood sugars are out of balance. And all of us can experience what it's like to have blood sugars out of balance. Just give your child a chocolate bar and a soda pop and you'll see what happens.
Wow.
I mean, that's what happens. But the thing that follows it is a complete sugar crash, and that's just as unhealthy.
Yeah.
The objective is to keep your blood sugars within a certain range, regardless of what you eat or don't eat. And that's what they tried to do with the discovery of insulin many decades ago. I'll throw in a call out. It was a Canadian doctor that found insulin, and was able to save many people in the world by treating them, injecting them with insulin. But the thing is, over time, our labs have found products such as metformin that Jim mentioned, which is the most prescribed medication on the market for type 2 diabetes. And the problem with metformin, like many, many drugs, is that it has side effects. And those side effects can be extremely nasty for a lot of people. A lot of people can't even take metformin because of those side effects. 20 years ago, there was a lot of discussion around something called a grapefruit diet. There was a man who was leading the Florida Citrus Growers organization, Florida Citrus Marketing Board, and he got into this grapefruit concept to see whether indeed it was able to cause weight loss. Well,
so the grapefruit diet, if I remember, I remember that it was all about. That was a period of time where it was all about eating grapefruit. If you ate grapefruit, you'd lose weight and you'd be healthier. Right. And so I remember we always go, let's make sure we got some grapefruit. Let's make sure we got some grapefruit. Yep. We're on a diet. Let's eat grapefruit. Yep. Right. And so that is a diet you're referring to. I know many of us in our generation remember that. I remember that. And so, and I will tell you, the pink grapefruit was always the best. It was always the sweetest and always the best. But I had to just interject that. I remember that. It brought back childhood memories.
Again, we strive for sugar, right?
Correct.
Well, the thing is that there are elements in grapefruit that do, in fact, help with weight loss. But the amount of grapefruit that you would have to eat daily probably would turn off anybody's taste, whether it was pink or yellow or any color you chose. So they had to go beyond that. They did work with a lot of research. He was a research doctor, PhD research doctor, and this is what he did. He formed a company actually to pursue that research, and found that combining it with a couple of other natural ingredients, he could come up with a product that would help to maintain proper blood sugar levels. And that product today is called Emulant. Now, the thing is that sugars in the body are necessary for our brain to function and for our muscles to function. In the old, I'll say the old days of sport, even 10, 20, 30 years ago, athletes would consume carbs maybe a couple of hours before a competition. They would have a plate of spaghetti or something like that before the big game, because carbs break down into sugars, and they wanted the sugars to feed their muscles, and that was the thinking. Well, things have changed a bit since then, and we've realized that that's not really the way to go, and athletes today don't do that type of thing. So that what they came up with in terms of this research was a completely natural product, taking extracts from a few different things, and putting them together in a capsule form that would allow us to balance our blood sugars. In fact, when it was put through critical lab tests and proof, it was shown to be more effective than metformin. And that was astounding and sufficiently noteworthy that the doctors and their work were recognized for a Nobel Prize nomination in 2015. And that's only 3 years ago. So that's how modern this is. And the truth is that doctors won't catch up with it, because doctors pretty much stick to the material that they're provided from Big Pharma. And of course, Big Pharma is only interested in chemicals and, to use the word drugs, that's that's what they promote. So a natural product like this that has been proven superior is available today. I keep going back in history because I was alive during these things, but about 50 years ago, there were scientific studies done in the States by some very well-known research doctors, and they came out with the fact that the problem in our diets was fats. And so all of a sudden, everybody began to convert from homogenized milk to 2% milk, to 1% milk, to skim milk, cottage cheese, you know, the percent of fat is on it, yogurt. Don't eat this type of beef, eat that type of beef. In fact, avoid beef altogether, go to fish.
Boy, we get confused. Why is our younger generation confused? You know, I wanted to mention this. We have about 8 minutes here, but I wanted to mention this whole thing and then let you summarize, because I think this will be a setup going into the new year. When we return, we'll be talking about true wealth solutions, health solutions, and really just get down to the basics in terms of what makes a great life. And I will tell you, that's your health and wealth. But I've always had this thought, and it makes sense, right? It's too much of anything, even a good thing, is not a good thing, right? Even an overindulgence, believe it or not, of having a lot of money, you know, if you're not really properly prepared to handle it, that could actually mess somebody up, you know, in their younger years. It gives them access to a lot of things they should not have access to. You know, I'm just giving some examples here, but you know, I think about this whole thing. I remember sugar. Sugar in and of itself is not really, in my mind, a bad thing. It makes things taste better. It's really, unfortunately, there is no nutritional value in sugar, right? But at the same time, you talk about eliminating steak. We are extremists. We say, oh my gosh, you know, eating all this stuff from McDonald's, you know, that must be the problem, because people are getting overweight by eating all of McDonald's, only McDonald's. Well, there could be some other issues there, such as discipline, education. You might not want to go to McDonald's all the time. You might not want to eat beef to the quantities that we eat all the time. We eat about 2 to 3 times on average more than what we used to eat in the past. No wonder why we're a little bigger. Yes. Yeah. And all of a sudden that thing is bad. And we have to consider that. So, you know, I'll let you continue on, but I have to make that statement. Again, it's all about having a plan. And right now we have this entitlement mentality. We don't just eat a little steak. We eat a lot of steak a lot of the time. That's really the problem in my mind. I have the best program ever. I'm going to share that with you at the end of the show. Before we end, I will tell you the best program ever. But I'm going to let you continue. I just had to make that statement based on what you said. And so we have about 6 minutes here, but I want you to just set us up for going into the new year, understanding the solutions that we can really look into to help us be healthier, to help us overcome being diabetic in some cases, or live with diabetes controlled. Go ahead, Bob.
There are many aspects to controlling your health, and particularly considering blood sugar and diabetes. There's exercise, there's sleep, there's fresh air, there's clean water. All of these things are necessary for better health. The area that I was speaking of specifically is an area that comes from the fact that carbs and sugars are toxic in your body if they're not consumed by your brain or your muscles in a reasonable period of time. They become excess. And what happens in your body is the insulin in your body actually stores toxic material in fat cells, because it knows that they're very hard to break down fat cells. So when you consume more sugar, your body stores it in fat cells. And I mean, we know that from our own experience. And then look at the work that has to be done to burn those fat cells and get them flushed out of your body. What we will talk about in the new year is how you can alter your diet what you can do to be healthy. We have information on things that go far beyond diabetes. We can talk about nutrition. We can talk about weight loss. We can talk about the importance of pure water, clean air, proper sleep. We can go into many of these different areas coming up. But my very simple advice, if you want to move into 2019 on a positive footing, is try wherever possible to give up or cut back on carbs and sugars. And that's not just table sugar, that's buns, breads, and any form of food that has carbs on it. Look at the ingredients and see what's there in terms of carbs and sugars, because they are your enemy.
Yeah.
And I'll let you go from there, Jim.
You know, I appreciate you calling in from the great white north. We have Robert Larrett, and I will tell you, I know, just getting to know you through the years, Robert, you have never looked better. And again, I am just so glad we're going to be really literally changing. I guess we could call it international, you being from Canada, eh?
Yep.
But
Yep.
I'll tell you, going into this new year, we have some spectacular things going on. Now, I want to tell everyone my great strategy in terms of the health strategy, all right? Well, strategy is all about having a plan, get the right information. Don't plan your financial future on guesswork or on our hypothesis. You know, feel free to contact me, the Walk Star. You can go ahead and find me, Jim T. Chong, on Facebook, or you can go ahead and contact me directly at 916-800-4705. But for the wealth strategies, you know, it's incredible. There's been an emerging company over the last few years called Exertus Financial Partners. I'm part of the endeavor of what's happening there. We just opened up another 5,000 square foot location there in Elk Grove. And so we have some great strategies to help you plan for your financial future. The company was started with Eric Antonio, along with, of course, the real leader, which is Vilma, his wife, and Jean and Alan Lorenzo, who are the CFO. That is Jean Lorenzo, his wife, and Alan Lorenzo, the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. And I'm so very excited to be able to have practical solutions to help people get on track with their wealth. But in their health, I have my piece of advice as well. Now, I want us all to think about our lifestyle, and if we're willing to make any change. Because if you're not, these could just be wonderful words falling on what we call deaf ears. But I really thought about this, and this is incredible. Taking everything into account, I want you to hear this. You take what you have, pretty much eat about a third less or a half less. You take that water, drink more water, and whatever you're doing in terms of exercise, do it a little bit more. That is my health plan. So again, eat less, drink more water, and exercise more. And I know, Bob, you've been dealing a lot with different sorts of solutions for health. You've gone through your own challenges with your family. What do you think of my solution?
Oh, I think it's a great plan. Nobody needs to order a 12-ounce steak when an 8-ounce steak will do just the job. Nobody needs 2 teaspoons of sugar in that cup of coffee when half a teaspoon will do what they need. It's just little things. It's all little things. Instead of taking the elevator up 2 floors, take the stairs. Those are the types of small changes in your life that can lead to a much better and a much longer stay on this earth. So
Wow.
Back to you, Jim.
I'm so excited about this. Again, we started out with this wonderful book by Matthew Walker, PhD. It's called Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. You want to go ahead and catch this. And this is a great read. It's a great read. I started the book, and I'm very excited. It is a New York Times bestseller. You've gotten some great advice here in terms of wealth strategies, in terms of health strategy. Hey, go ahead and plan a little bit more for your wealth and also for your health. Eat a little bit less, exercise a little bit more, but of course, we are coming across the holidays. have some exceptions. Feel free to break the rules just a little bit, And so as we end the show, I want you to consider the things that are most important to you. This is Jim T. Chong, the Walk Star, along with Bob Larrett in Canada. You've been listening to Walk the Talk on KXVS. This is the voice of Stockton.